Hi, I'm Al, and today I'm going to be showing a new and a different way to to accurately and without any markings to do a mortise and tenon joint. In this example, I'll be using a 2-inch mortise and tenon joint. Um, and then, first of all, I'm going to show how I make a small jig that we're going to use in doing this. So here we go on the jig. In this jig, we're actually using 1/2-inch plywood, and these dimensions are not definitive, so I'm just using 4 1/4 by the one piece and cutting the other one piece to 5 1/2. And because I'm doing some relief on here, we need to put a piece of copy paper in here and tack it down, and then tack or glue the other piece down like this, and it must be flush like this. And this spacing here, it probably leave to be is just a little over 1 inch. And then once we've glued it and set it up, we need to take it over to a miter saw and trim this spacing here to exactly 1 inch. And we'll show how these parts go together. And to make a 2-inch mortise on this jig, we're going to use a spacer here, or I'm going to call it an insert. And to make a 2-inch mortise, I have to make this 2 5/8 to make this work. And if I was making something shorter, for example, in this case, a 1 1/2-inch mortise, I would use 2 5/8. 2 1/8, excuse me. Okay, so that's how I make the jig, and that's how I make the little inserts. So we're going to move over now to the to cut the tenon. Cut the mortise, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to put this insert in this jig like so. Fits in there nicely. And on this mortise, I want a 7/16 shoulder, and I want it to be exactly in the middle. And this is a carbide bit, 3/8 dimension. And since I want to have a 3/8 shoulder, I'm going to turn the bit so it's actually north and south for the cutting edge. And I'm going to use a 7/16 drill bit to accurately measure the sides in here. For some reason it's oh, I got the wrong sides. It's got to be this way. Sorry, I wonder why it wasn't fitting. So that's exactly 7/16. And then I turn it north and south. In this case, I'm using a 3/16 spacer. A bit hard to see this. And I will just move the fence back or forth until it just touches. Or you can use a 3/16 drill if you don't have a 3/16 inches. Okay, so that's the setup for this. I put some gloves on so it's a little easy to work with. In order to make this a little easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run a piece of wood through here, just to set to give us a gauge. So I've done that previously. Okay, so now I'm going to use a riser. This is a 1/4-inch piece of wood, and the purpose of this is to save me raising and lowering the router bit. So I'll go ahead and do the mortise, the 2-inch mortise. And so we're set up like this with the insert in here, and here we go. Okay, let's cut it to a certain depth, but I want a deeper mortise than that, so I move the riser out of the way and clear out the debris, which is very important. Now we put the the insert back in again and repeat the procedure. And clean it out. Okay, and a little bit of cleaning out needed on here, but that's the 2-inch mortise, and we put that off to one side, and we go ahead and do the tenon. Okay, on the tenon, we're again going to be using a riser, 1/4-inch riser, and we're setting the depth of the router bit to about 5/8, and this one has so the dado blade needs to be slightly under 1 inch. I'm using a 5-inch gauge to set this to this sacrificial fence. All I have to do is move the fence one way or the other to get that setting. Whether this goes underneath the fence or not is immaterial, just as long as the exposed part of the dado is slightly less than 5/8 of an inch. Okay, to set the height of the dado cut, I'm going to use this 1/4 inch with 2 3/16 inch drill bits, and I'm using a flat surface here to set the height of the dado blade. So I'm bringing this over, and when I run this over, I want this flat surface to just tick the thing, and I can feel it doing that, and you might be able to see it slightly move, and that sets the height for the cheek reveal. Okay, so we've got the spacing set and we've got the height set, and I push down the chip guard. So, and the next part is kind of important. In order to do a 2-inch mortise and a 7/16 shoulder, I must have a piece of wood that's exactly 2 5/8 wide. The mortise size is immaterial, but the tenon must be 2 5/8 wide. So we'll go ahead and cut this. And bring this right up to the thing, make sure we're tight, and there's a stug. Okay, we'll go ahead and cut the cheeks. Cutting the cheeks, and I'll just step aside and get the gauge and see how it fits. And that fits pretty good, with just a shade of clearance there, enough to allow for the glue surface. So I know this is going to fit good, so I know the height is good. So now I'm going to cut the shoulder. So we take this out of the way, bring this up against here like again. Now we're going to cut the shoulder. Round this off a little bit, and now we take the 2 pieces, the mortise and the tenon, and go into the other room where we have a vise. I hope I've covered all the measurements. Set up the tenon and mortise, and I'm going to round it off to hopefully fit this perfect, because it's a bit too big right now with the square edges. So to do this, I'm going to slightly trim this off and make sure that this is completely off. I'm slightly cutting down. You could use a chisel for this, but I like to use a sharp blade here. I'm slightly undercutting and making sure there's no residue there. Now to round it off, I'm just going to use this, and I'm just going to round off just a piece of sandpaper on a little piece of board. I'm just going to round it off, but I'm not going to round off here. I'm not going to cut anything off the length. I'm just going to round it off and do the same on this side. Okay, I want to clear out this mortar to make sure there's no debris in there. Now for the first time we'll see how the fit is. And you can see it's fitting very, very snug. And we push the two together, and you can see we have what you might say a perfect mortise and tenon joint. So that's that. And just to mention too that if we wanted to move this down further, all we would have to do is measure, say for example 10 inches down. We'd measure 10 inches from the insert to the router bit, and that would take care of it. And here we show a layout of some of the dimensions. I hope I've covered all the dimensions that are important in this case. Okay, I thank you for paying attention, and